What is going on, New York Giant fans? Welcome back to another video. If you haven't already, hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops or video drops. Appreciate y'all coming back. Share this out, do all the good stuff. Hope to be at training camp this year. When the tickets were released for training camp, I was actually on a plane home, so I wasn't able to get them. But hopefully I could be there, give you guys the analysis from what I saw, and so on and so forth, because I always like being there rather than taking stuff from reports and stuff, and it's just secondhand information rather. Well, yeah, it is secondhand information because someone who has been there and reports there and all that sort of stuff, that's more firsthand information in a sense. But nonetheless, we are going to recap episode 3 of the Giants Hard Knocks series for the offseason, and there's really 3 topics. It's all free agency: Saquon, the offensive line, and Brian Burns. And finally, I say the Saquon thing is going to get put to rest, right? It seems like 3 episodes we've been like hankering around, what was the story, this, that, and the third. And as I said, I'm glad it's kind of simmering down because 3 episodes, I don't think is that big of a deal. But again, I could be wrong to certain people. So let's get right into it. Let's start off with the Saquon Barkley debacle. So we obviously saw everything for the first 2 episodes. They were going to let Saquon test the market, and if he doesn't find a price that's great for him or that he thought was going to be out there, he'd return to the Giants, and the Giants would try to give him a deal. Now, Saquon, per his agent, Ed Berry, wanted something in the range of 12.5 AAV, which isn't bad for a running back. I would have done that. 3 years, $25 million guaranteed. And we obviously saw the first 2 episodes. That's okay. He's going to come back to the Giants, and they're going to try to see if they can find a match, and, if the Giants can match that. But apparently, Saquon and Ed Berry, maybe, you guys interpreted it a little differently. Maybe they didn't keep their side. Because Joe Schoen said when he was on the phone with Ed Berry, he was like, well, that might be a little above me. And he was basically mentioning, oh, yeah, obviously we had this agreement where he goes out on the market, doesn't find a number he likes, and comes back to us, and we could find something and settle on something. And Ed Berry's like, well, so not great. And obviously we know that Saquon Barkley took more money to go to the Philadelphia Eagles. It's not that much increase, but it's still, more than the Giants were offering. And he said, meaning Joe Schoen, we're out when it came to one of the top dollars and, basically the decision point of Saquon going to the Eagles or, maybe something a little lower to stay with the Giants. And obviously John Mara was going to get involved because, as he put it, Saquon Barkley is the Giants' most popular player. Doesn't mean he's the best player. He's the most popular player. And he's probably thinking from a businessman's perspective. But I'm happy with the way Joe Schoen did this. And to be honest, I never really have been mad at Saquon Barkley for going to the Eagles. I don't really care about that stuff, to be honest with you. I mean, is it a little gut-wrenching? Yes, but, listen, we root for the team. We do not root for the player. Well, we root for the players as long as they're on the team. But, again, the deal was north of what the Giants wanted to do. Joe Schoen said, we're out. And after everything had transpired, Joe Schoen said the priority right now is the offensive line. And Daboll said, we need inside players. So that tells me that they wanted guard options. So there are 3 top options, which all of them were sent offers. Jon Runyan, Robert Hunt, and Jermaine Lemonor. Now, the Giants, of course, ended up signing both, but there's also a process. I'm actually glad that the Giants did not cave to Robert Hunt's demands and sign him for $20 million a year. Now, that could also be because he went to Carolina, and Carolina is not a desirable place to go right now. I'm not saying New York's the greatest place on earth in terms of, having the Jets or the Giants or whoever was going to offer him. But Carolina, they just came off a very bad season, a couple of bad seasons as well in the past few years. So they probably needed to up that payday just to get a popular player in. But the Jets actually, speaking of the Jets, they're going to be mentioned 1 or 2 times here. They offered John Runyon $9 million a year, 2 years, 17 mil guaranteed. And I believe it was Kevin Abrams or someone in the front office. They said the pulling point for them is going to be the contract, obviously, as well as the Rodgers and Hackett connection because they were all in Green Bay together. So Joe Schoen said, is that really going to be the selling point? Basically, he said that. So he upped the offer to $10 million a year, a 3-year contract, and matching that guaranteed offer, and John Runyon is a New York Giant. It was a little different, though, with Jermaine Eluemunor because they had interest, meaning Jermaine's camp, from the Cardinals. And Joe Schoen kind of had it in the 5-6 range, and he wanted a 3-year deal because the Cardinals were offering something around 2 years, $6 million a year, or $7 million a year, something along those lines. And one of the guys, I believe it was Ed Triggs, again, I don't remember specifics, there's a lot of guys in that episode, and one of the guys says, nah, he does not want a 3-year deal, he wants a 2-year deal. And Joe Schoen's like, seriously? So $7 million, 2-year deal, some money up front. That's what got it done with Jermaine Eluemunor. Now, they looked at 2 different backs to replace Saquon Barkley, specifically in this episode. Last episode was a little bit different. You got Motor, a.k.a. Devin Singletary, and DeAndre Swift. Singletary for 5 or Swift for 6. Personally, me, I wouldn't have minded DeAndre Swift for $6 million a year. That's my personal opinion, but he obviously went elsewhere. Devin Singletary is a Giant. And once they locked him in, Ed Triggs said Motor is in the boat, which means Devin Singletary is on board with signing with the Giants. So, top backup quarterbacks they considered: Sam Darnold, Tyrod Taylor, Gardner Minshew, and Drew Lock. So, they said Minshew was going to cost a lot of money, so he's off the table. They looked at bringing Tyrod Taylor back. And Brian Daboll said, okay, we're going to have the same QB room as last year. Joe Schoen says, yeah, for right now. So, we know where we're going to go in the next 2 episodes maybe. But nonetheless, they wanted Tyrod Taylor back. And the Jets gave him, I believe, $7 million a year. And the Giants really didn't want to go there because Joe Schoen, Brian Daboll said, Tyrod Taylor, he does have his fair share of injuries. But what they sold Drew Lock on, Lock obviously, had the negotiations, came to the Giants. What they sold them on is really 2 things. The opportunity to get paid, because they've done that before. When Mitch Trubisky was in Buffalo, the following year he went to Pittsburgh, he got paid. Tyrod Taylor got with the Giants and then moved on to the Jets and got paid. So Drew Lock could have that same aura, same thing of events happen to him if he plays well in a Giants uniform. And they didn't sell him on a starter role like a lot of people said, but there's also uncertainty with Daniel Jones' health. Right now, Daniel Jones is probably going to start on PUP, so Drew Lock could possibly look to start as QB1 during training camp. Moving to the Brian Burns thing, which is the final thing we'll talk about, is obviously there was minimal discussions at the Senior Bowl with Dan Morgan, Joe Schoen. Their families are intertwined via friendship, and his daughter is friends with Morgan's daughter, and this, that, and the third. So it was a very stressful set of negotiations because they had it, I think it was the first day of free agency. It was on a Monday because I remember being in Pennsylvania when the whole trade went down, and they put up a package for Brian Burns. And they waited a long time for Dan Morgan to get back to them. And when that happened, Dan Morgan wanted to add an extra 7th, which Joe Schoen was not really happy about. Now, they had all the signing stuff in place in terms of what they were going to sign Brian Burns to, but it was the trade package with the Carolina Panthers, and everything worked out. 5 years, 141, 87.5 mil guaranteed. And it's pretty interesting, and Joe Schoen kind of pressed on it in the side interview, is that you need to have patience as a general manager, and I lack that a little bit because these things take a while. And while those negotiations were going on, there were different players that the Giants were interested possibly getting signed elsewhere. So that was the whole issue there. And then they would have to pivot to different players and this, that, and the third. But overall, it was a free agent episode for the Giants, catered around the O-line, a little bit of Saquon and Brian Burns, his arrival in New York. And they also finished up with a little personal note, which they've done the last two episodes, with the scouts going out to dinner at St. Elmo's in episode 2. In this one, the Shane family Uno game, per se. Like, comment, subscribe to all the good stuff. Turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops for you drops. Appreciate you all coming back. Peace out, guys. See you later. Stay cool.